We are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Hit the record button.
Gosh, that's swell.
It's a Lowe's Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everybody. This is Italo, once again, with Italo's Blog Talk Radio. And I have been waiting for Joe Gamble to call, and he's calling, so I'm like, I have to drop everything, and I'm like, okay, let's do this thing. So welcome to the show. Thank you for finally calling. And I know we crossed many exchanges on Instagram, and you can find basically what I wanted to tell the audience that how I met you was through the Hollywood Fringe Festival. You were actually casted in this show called Snap Honey. That was I think it was 2 years ago. And I was actually impressed by your performance, and I'm like, wow, this is actually all right. So anyhow, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thank you, man. I'm doing very well. I'm wonderful. I'm doing the very best I can. And thank you. That's such a nice thing to say. That was an experience.
Oh.
That was a great time, a great span of being in and seeing shows and stuff. And I apologize for taking so long to connect. As you said, we've had a lot of exchanges and stuff. But, you know, how things go, getting schedules to coordinate and prioritizing all that stuff. So I'm glad you were patient enough to, you know, just to have me on and we can chat a little bit and just chop it up a bit.
Right, great. Yeah, and then actually what I think what prompted the interest in talking today. And I actually, honestly, I was telling you, I really have nothing to talk about. I don't know whether it's the saturation of everything that's been happening, but as of lately, I've been away from Facebook. I've been away from all social media. Well, not all social media. I'm more into a TikTok kind of state of mind right now, where apparently you can be followed by thousands of people in a matter of 3 months. And I'm like, what? I have how many followers? I have like almost 3,000 followers. And I'm like, wow. So I'm like, forget Facebook. Who cares? Yeah.
Well,
I can barely get 2 likes on Facebook.
It transitions so quickly. They're always looking for a new platform, a new way to express yourself and all that type of stuff. And I understand because I'm the same. I like to share things on social media, but I'm very intentional with it. I don't really get lost in it. And if I do, let's say I go on, you know, Facebook or Instagram, whatever have you, what it might be. Yeah, I kind of go and see who responded to what people have to say. But then after a point, if I find myself just scrolling just to scroll, I'm like, okay, I have so many other things I could be doing with my time that's more constructive than this, one. And then two, sometimes you go down the rabbit hole of just a lot of content that doesn't feed you in any way. You know, I believe in something that either is going to make me better or allow I can share that can impact somebody else in a positive way, or my favorite is just to laugh. So if it's something funny, right. I'm like, okay, great. But if it's not one of those three, if it's not something that was a positive impact on me that I want to share with people, like, hey, this resonated with me, let me put it out there for someone else to benefit from, or something to educate, or something to just, you know, get that divine energy of pure laughter. I'm like, yeah, I really don't need this. Like, certain things will pop up on my timeline. And one in particular is a video someone sent me today. And it's popped up on my timeline multiple places. And I just chosen, you know, he sent it directly to me. And I was like, yeah, bro, I'm not going to watch this shit yet. This is it will kind of throw my energy off. I want to be able to get some things done. And how did I phrase it? I said, I'm not going to consume this till I feel more confident it's not going to give me emotional indigestion. He just kind of laughed. But because he knows me, he's like, yeah, I get it. Like, I just can't let myself just get immersed in all the stuff going on, whether it's accurate or, nonsensical type stuff. It's just I like to choose what I feed myself in a way, in my mind and my spirit. So.
Right. Yeah, and I have I have this. Well, I have people that send me stuff as well because I'm pretty much all about Black Lives Matter. I'm very outspoken about injustice and all that, and defunding the police. And it's not that I jump on every bandwagon either, because I actually got in trouble for speaking my mind about politics, and I'm not going to do that in this show. I promise. I am not going to say anything that will inspire controversy.
Right. We can voice opinions, but I'm not really a political type guy, so I get it.
Right. And I'm not either. I'm basically, I'm into my craft, which is poetry and theater. And but now, we're we're entering another era of like you say, the people that give you all this information, and you have to discern whether it's authentic or staged or what is going on. And I have many questions all the time. I'm like, what is this happening? Where are these people being taken away? Why? What's going on in Baltimore? Or what? Not Baltimore. Was it Oregon? I think where they were just kidnapping people.
Oh yes, right.
And I was concerned, and then of course there's always a controversy as to whether it's real. I don't know, man. It's just nobody thought,
something.
Right.
Or
and
it's just like a snapshot of
information
something kind of taken out of context. Right. It's kind of. I want a fact check, so to speak.
Right.
I don't I won't necessarily go out there and go, ooh, take a look at this, and I'm like not really sure of the root of it and what it really has, what inspired this moment to be, shared in this way or whatever. So, yeah, like you said, discernment. That is one thing. Oh my gosh. Well, I have a background in education, and I've worked in foster care and worked with children and social services and stuff like that before I got into the arts and whatnot. And it's something that has always been a part. This is like one of my mini platforms. If there were two things that our education system could encourage, it would be critical thinking and discernment. Because if you can look at information as opposed to what the media or just people in conversation, people make small talk. I found that a lot of people just talk and they don't know what to say, so they just kind of say stuff. So there may or may not be any kind of root to where they're coming from. But if use the example again. I'm not a. You said this is not a political podcast. I'm not jumping on any kind of political platform.
Yeah.
But media-wise, I think that a lot of times, because of the fact of so many things that feed into it, but our society is kind of built on reality TV, like watching other people live their lives and not taking action but being spectators. Our education system doesn't really feel like it teaches you how to think. It basically teaches you how to regurgitate what they've told you. Just say it back. Got it all right for the test? Okay. After that, do people remember it? Not really. But I don't really feel like it encourages people to just take data and look at it and read out, oh, they said this. And someone else said this. And I did some research on my own, and it says that. And come to your own conclusion. That's called critical thinking. But I think if that was encouraged more, in our education system to teach people how to learn, teach people how to think, as opposed to teaching them what to think, then I think a lot less people would kind of get clouded with the overflow of information that we have available to us because of the internet and because of social media, where if you think about it, because of social media, every person with a profile now has a presence and a voice on the World Wide Web. Everyone can say something to be heard around the world. So it's like an overwhelming amount of information just from the people, individuals, and then, TV stations, news platforms, and politicians. Everyone has their own agenda and stuff. So there's so much information coming at us. If people don't stop to kind of digest it and process it themselves, who knows what to think and listen to and all that type of stuff. So I get it. I intentionally take some time off from that overwhelming amount of information sometimes too. Like I have my own personal life and professional life and family and all those pieces that I like to give my energy to. So I definitely follow you on that. I could not disagree.
Right. And speaking of family, because I've seen some of your videos, and I see your family. Are you guys from the Caribbean or some? I'm not really sure, because I thought for a reason you were either Latino or Caribbean. Yeah, I'm not. Honestly, I haven't researched I haven't Googled you today.
Right. No, you don't have to. You got me on the phone. Actually, you're right. I am like Afro-Latino, I guess. I'm first generation Panamanian. Panama is Central American. It's a Spanish-speaking country, right next to Costa Rica, and but their parents, like my dad's side, is from Trinidad. My mom's side is from St. Lucia. So basically, Virgin Islands, West Indian background, Panama, during the building of the canal, everybody flocked there to get a job. So, Panamanians come in all complexions and hair textures and eye colors and all those pieces kind of mixed in. So, yeah, so I'm first generation Panamanian, but my roots are in the Caribbean too.
Right. So let me ask you this, since you're sorry.
I was just going to say, unfortunately, my parents were very much, they're immigrants, and they wanted us to fit in. They wanted us to acclimate. So they intentionally chose not to teach us Spanish. So I'm like, why? I could have been bilingual all this time. So I pick it up here and there, but I wish I could say I was bilingual, but I am not. But
I was going to start babbling in Spanish to catch you on that, but I'm not going to do that.
Oh God, no.
Tío, empezó a hablar así, rapidito, y a ver qué decías, and you were going to be like, what the hell is that? Because I know Panameños or people from Panama, they speak different. The Spanish is different there. Not sure how they sound, and but yeah, it's just different. The Spanish is different everywhere.
Where is your family from?
My family is from Peru.
From Peru,
South America. Yeah, and I was born here, but raised in Peru. So basically, I grew up thinking that I was Peruvian until they told me, "No, you're not. You're American." I'm like, "Oh, I guess I gotta go." But yeah, I grew up in Peru, and interestingly enough, because I'm part of a biracial couple, right? And so my boyfriend always tells me, is like, because he's teaching me everything right now, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk about. I have been learning so much since March, right? And even before. I mean, what am I saying? I was unaware of all this racism, of all the history, you know, Harriet Tubman and Malcolm X and Black Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
Like I set myself down, or he set me down to, you know, you have to watch this. You have to watch this movie. You have to watch even the funny, you know, what's it called, Dolomite movie, and the blaxploitation movies that he used to grow up with.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
and so it's like a history. It's like a history lesson to me. I find documentaries very, very fascinating. But one thing he asked me, he's like, "You never knew about racism in Peru?" And I'm like, and I'm trying to think back, and I'm like, what? I mean, I know there's racism everywhere. And he always says, it's like, why? Why do they pick on the black people? Why is it always black people? Because he doesn't say African American. He doesn't consider himself from Africa. He's like, I was born in Chicago. So that was my question to you, is like, when they ask you to describe yourself, that's why I was asking you, what do you say?
Oh, got you. Okay. That's kind of it's not really like a one-word answer. I won't say it's a loaded question, but it's multifaceted. So, of course, I can't speak for your boyfriend, but I can know in my personal experience, it depends on if people are asking, you know, what's my cultural background, my ethnicity, or what's my lineage, or, you know, what I consider myself. My background is, again, I'm a first-generation Panamanian, so I have Latin roots, which also branch into the Caribbean. But then, honestly, we could go as far back, which I'm sure you've heard it from your boyfriend, and science will tell you. It's not like it's a rumor, but we're all African, because the oldest archaeological discoveries of man is traced back to Ethiopia. So the whitest white person that you see, technically, we're related. It's just, you know, because of geographically and weather patterns and what landmass they happen to be on and all that type of stuff, people's genetics adjusted, because that's what people do. We just kind of adapt. But as far as that kind of question, I consider myself a person of color, which it's like, in one context, a person of color is anyone who's not white.
Yeah.
And right. And
Sorry
it's a
to laugh
funny thing. This is one of no. I'm just being. Hey, listen. We're gonna talk shop. Like, just be honest. What I do consider myself black as far as United States. And the reason why is, even though my immediate background is Latino, the people that see me, most people don't think Latino. They see a black person. So even if I technically wasn't black, which I am, I'm of mixed lineage as well, I'm going to be treated as a black person is treated here in the United States. So even if I wasn't, it really doesn't matter, because that's how I'm seen. So black lives and the rights of black people speak directly to me, because I'm in that category. Even if it was inaccurate, which it is, but even if it wasn't necessarily the case, I fight for those rights too, because they apply to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it totally does. It totally does. Yeah, I'm just thinking in my head, as they say. That's redundant, but how not right. People always say that. I was thinking in my head. But yeah, I was thinking in my head that
it's like when people say,
for instance,
well, for me personally, I'm like, you said for me, so I know it's personal. we all do that.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, what I was thinking about is, for instance, right, I myself consider myself Latino, obviously. However, when I came here, they sometimes mistake me for a Caucasian, and I always wanted to say my family is Peruvian, yes, but however my lineage comes from Italy, and they come from Germany, and they come from here and there. I always had to do that, and I didn't understand why. Yeah. Okay. Right, but I didn't understand why. I wasn't ashamed of being Peruvian or Peruvian descent. And so recently I discovered maybe I was ashamed of being not being totally white, right? And now I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm Latino 100% now, especially with the current climate. And I'll move back to Peru if that was the case, and I'm not going to do that because I'm American. But now, what I'm saying, it's always changing. Like, for instance, with the black community, they were called different things on different times. Like, it depends if you were in the 60s, they will call you one thing that I'm not going to say on the air. They would always call you different names, and it evolves, right? Like, you'll be black one time, you would be the N-word the other day, and then now it's African American. What's going to happen next? How, you know what I'm saying? Like, and nobody comes with a real, just say black. Why is that so offensive? Right. And it's interesting to think about these things, I think.
It is. I can relate to what you're saying as far as you explaining, my background is Peruvian, but my lineage is this, and I'm part from Italy and from Germany and stuff. I don't think there's anything more wrong with that, or less, than saying, just like you asked me where I'm from, there are many different ways to answer that, and none of them are incorrect. But I think that I can relate to what you're saying as far as identifying as Peruvian, like I identify as Panamanian, because growing up, I grew up in a community of mostly Caribbean. So most of my neighborhood was like Haitian, Jamaican, Trinidadian. And at that time, even though you can look at all the some of the stereotypes of what my home looked like, my home looked like a Latino home. Like, I had a thick shag carpet in the house. My mom had plastic slip covers on the couches. We weren't allowed to sit in them. The walls were veloured with like this. It's all kind of stuff that you would think, Platanos? Yeah, you're in Spanish. Right. You're Spanish speaking. Yeah. As far as my upbringing, now this is a whole other thing of not even racism. This is colorism. I was just a light-skinned kid. All my friends were darker complected than me. So it's just like, oh, he's light-skinned. Like, okay, I'm light-skinned. Like, I didn't know I just knew the difference of what we look like. I saw the distinction between what I look like and what they look like. And because they brought attention to it, I was like, oh, okay. And quite honestly, they usually said it in a joking fashion, so it wasn't like to make me feel terrible, but kids are kids, it's kind of derogatory. So I'm like, what's wrong with being light-skinned? But as I got older, I realized, like, no, you're actually Panamanian. This is what it means to be from Panama. It's a Latin-speaking, a Spanish-speaking country. I think part of it was that we didn't speak Spanish in the home. But as I got older, I get like, oh, no, my family's, I'm Latino. So as I realized and identified that way, then I embrace it. And like, oh, that's part of who I am. So I'm not denying the fact that I have these roots that are Caribbean and black. But I also embrace my direct lineage because now as an adult, I can identify and go, oh, I understand the difference. So when you're saying that, you grew up in Peru and you kind of explained what the difference of pieces of your lineage and a part of where your different aspects of your family come from, I guess that's normal. I mean, that's just, unless you grow up in a household where the family is particularly rooted in going, this is your lineage, this is where your background from, you got to always remember this and that, and explain what that's about, the history of the country and stuff. At a point, you kind of have to find your own identity. So I feel like
Right.
that's kind of what I ended up doing, and it sounds like you might have had a similar path.
Yeah, trust me, I had to, come out of the closet a few times, not only as a gay person, not only as an actor, not only as a poet, not only as a former Democrat, and I don't know what now because I don't even know. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
Your point of view changes you, and it changes me. It's changed me, and so I'm like, I had to come out of a few closets since, since I came to this country, and now I don't know, man. I'm just a straight. I like to consider myself a free thinker. I don't want to, what I'm saying, like check one box and be happy with your box, and don't question your, you know what I'm saying? Don't question your reality, your religion. Right. Don't question your politics. Don't question your adults, because the adults talking, and I'm like, well, I'm 27, right. So if I don't know this shit by now, when am I gonna, you know what I'm saying? When am I gonna be an adult?
Right.
And
right.
Okay,
I
I'm not supposed to say this. Why? Yeah. So that's
right. Well, I think that feeds into what I was saying before about people coming to their own conclusions about their perspective and their living space and all that type of stuff. Because, like, okay, you mentioned religion. I'm from a Latino family. Heavy Christianity. Catholicism is everything to Latinos. And that's just the way I was raised. And as I grow older, things happen. I drift into the church. I drift out of the church. I start to question religion. I start to see a distinction between religion and spirituality and all that type of stuff. And it comes down to it's a choice the individual makes, whatever resonates with them. But I think that just comes with our maturity. You kind of grow, and you and I could both think, something. I think I finally hit it on the head. And 5 years from now, we might look back like, I didn't know anything. I was dumb.
Right.
Because your life experiences and your knowledge and all that stuff, it adds to it. It's all cumulative. So how we feel today, we may feel the same way tomorrow, but we may not. And see, the thing what I came to with maturity was that can change, but that's okay. That's the part that I didn't know. I was like, but like all my family's Catholic, and I was raised this way, and my values and my morals come from this upbringing. And however, that's not taking from that. But at the same time, I'm entitled to have my own perspective about it. And the one thread that unifies all the religions is pretty much a belief in a higher power, a belief that we're here to do something positive and to evolve, to impact others, and to care about each other. I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of all the same. So does it really matter what my particular religious affiliation is if the positive aspects and value that one can get from quote-unquote religion in general, if I live that and I make an effort to live it and breathe it and express it, does it really matter what name I attach to it? So it's again, it's I think it's a matter of personal choice.
Right. No, yeah, and I've growing up, basically, I grew up very Catholic to the point where I thought I was going to become a priest or something because I was going to church a lot and church groups and I was very animated. I became the leader at one point of the group, the youth group that I was attending.
I can see that. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, until I realized I was being used. I was being utilized to attract people, right? It's like putting you, how they put the models in Abercrombie and that store, whatever that's called, Abercrombie, and they had the models with this 8-pack or 12-pack. So that it would attract people to go inside, and of course nothing fits once you go inside. That's the same thing that went with me.
So true.
They kind of wanted to have the people that were very charismatic, that can draw the attention of the youth, and bring them over. And once they were in, they locked the doors behind you, right? So I knew that was going on, and then of course then I confessed my sins, and they told me, well, you don't belong to our church because you have this orientation and you want to continue being gay. Well, you can't be here. So you know what I'm saying, like, and it took a lot to it took a lot out of me. I'm like, wow, so I guess I'm going to hell, right? And
the unfortunate part about that is the irony or the hypocrisy, however you want to say it, is we say, he who is without sin casts first stone.
Right.
There is no judge but God. God judges. We don't judge each other. That's not our job. We accept all. We love each other equally. All those things, which are wonderful ideals to try and live by. But at the same time, if someone has a lifestyle you don't agree with, you judge them as humans. You judge them and cast them out and treat them differently just because it disagrees with what you say that your God puts forth as the, what do you want to call, the ideal or the median, the average, the majority of, or whatever have you, which I always thought was kind of hypocritical, and it's very hurtful, especially if you grew up in a situation where, you know, people are saying, they're telling you the best case scenario, what religion represents. And again, I say a lot of my moral fiber was built around being raised Catholic, but there's a lot of hypocrisy in religion. I thought my perspective is, I feel like religion, I'm not trying to be controversial, but just, again, my perspective, I feel like religion as a whole is a system that's created to manipulate people. And because so much, think about it, if religion's about loving each other, how many wars were fought based on religion? How many people during the Inquisition, how many thousands of people were killed just because they weren't Christian? I mean, colonizers coming from Europe and going to Africa and stealing all these slaves, saying that
in the name of the Father, right? Right, in the name of the Father, that we're helping them, we're making their lives better. Like, there's so many ways. I mean, and just bring it up to today, and I'm gonna say this, and we can speak about it, or if you want to keep it moving, I understand that too. The hypocrisy of there being priests that are abusing, physically and sexually abusing children in the church. They are what is supposed to be the closest representation. They are God on earth, right? According to religion, a priest. Right.
They're mistreating people in such a devastating way at a time in their lives where they're still getting their identity and they don't necessarily know how to look out for themselves yet. And these priests or people of the clergy will be found to have done these things. Do they excommunicate them from the church? Do they fire them, quote unquote, from their position? No. They take them, they transfer them to another diocese, another location, and let them do the same thing again.
Right.
So, I mean, the hypocrisy in that, I'm just like, I understand that's not all of it, and there's so much great to come from it. But if you can allow that to happen, and not like it's an accident, it happens all the time. You're standing on your ideal of one way of living, but you're not embodying that. So how seriously can I take the institution if the people that are not just the individuals within the institution, because ideals are perfect, but the difference is when a person executes them, everyone, their perception, everyone, it's subjective. What you think is a good thing to do, to me, may not be the same, which is fine. Individual can have individual interpretations of an ideal, but if you have a structure in place that supports immoral behavior, but you're trying to wag your finger at everybody else to act a certain way. Kind of like you lose my respect. I'm like, all right, whatever, man. So I get where you're coming from, and I just think it kind of sucks. And that's heavy though. I'm not gonna sit here and bash
this is a fun show, guys.
Yeah, hey, keep it light. So this one time, when we were doing a play.
No, I like to take things deep. No, and the same thing with the police, right? So you don't hold police accountable for their crimes. You don't hold priests accountable for their crimes. You don't hold politicians accountable for crimes. You don't hold Ku Klux Klan accountable. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can go on, and so that's where white privilege and white supremacy comes from. And this is the problem that we're going through right now. Not just as a country, but as it's going around the world. It's like there has to be accountability on every level, not just police and not just politicians, but in every field. So yeah, that's I'm getting off my soapbox now. Because I can go on too. Trust me.
Right. We could definitely have many conversations about this, and I would look forward to that. We can definitely do that. But let's talk. I mean, I'm not sure who's interviewing who, but let's talk art.
Right.
Like you said, I met you because of the Hollywood Fringe Festival in 2018, I believe it was, and you were part of a great production. It was so much fun getting to meet you guys and other people. There was like such the group that we had of all the different people in the different casts, the one-man shows, one-woman shows, and musicals and comedies and dramas and all kinds of stuff. We're all pulling together to say, hey, let's let people know what we're doing. Let's let our art speak for us. Art is a reflection of society, all that kind of stuff. So it was really great to do that.
Oh yeah, I miss it so much.
Did you grow up grow up in the theater or in the arts, or was that something that came later?
It came much later. It actually came in my 40s. Like, I mean, I've always liked to write, but technically speaking, the first time I met you, which was 2 years ago, that was my first time producing the show and my first time in theater. I was always performing like poetry and open mics and stuff like that. Yeah, but I've always been fascinated with theater. The theater to me is still very important, very essential, actually. Not just for the actors, but also for the youth, for the children. You know what I'm saying? Like, it benefits everybody.
Yes.
And yeah, the show that I did was geared to inspire young people to, because it's basically poetry. That's what I was doing. It was poetry. Disguised as a play. So yeah, and this year is the only year that I don't get to do anything because of COVID. So that's what happened.
Right. That's just a whole nother thing. Well, see, that's interesting because that is a whole another reason we have something in common. I also got into performing in the arts in my 40s, and that show that you saw me in, that was actually, I'm trying to remember which one was first, but I was doing another play at the same time. But that was my first time ever doing a play.
Wow.
Which, that was one of my first lessons in theater. Never do two plays at the same time.
Right.
Never doing this again.
Yeah.
It was overwhelming. I was like, never.
Especially the French.
We'll be doing this again.
Especially the French is crazy.
Yeah.
But no,
actually,
I honestly did not think that.
Too. That was me too.
I do not believe. Really? I cannot believe that because you seem like a very seasoned actor to me. Not only because you're my age or we're in the same age group, but I thought your performance was you were playing the character of the father. He was very authoritative and very right.
Very domineering.
So
abusive.
Yeah.
And just an extreme personality. Right.
So when I saw that, and I was in the front row. I was actually on stage with you guys because I was part of the plan. I was you remember that, but I saw you like some couple of feet away from me, and I was petrified of your character. And I was like, okay, if I could feel that, I was triggered.
Wow.
Yeah, man,
okay.
That was a good performance.
First of all, that honestly, I could say I think that's a great compliment you could give an actor, is that you associated the character so much with the person. I would never want anyone to feel uncomfortable because, like you said, you could be triggered by any plethora of life experiences. But thank you for that. I appreciate it. I did work hard on
basically.
it. It's like, oh, I'm glad I did. Now he's like, won't walk into a dark room like, oh my God. But
right.
yeah, I mean, maybe because it's something that I got into later in life. I worked hard on it because I'm like, well, if I'm choosing to do this, if this isn't something that I'm giving my life's blood to, like, oh, this is everything rises and falls, I've got to be an actor. And if at this stage in my life, I'm just deciding this is something I kind of explored. I found a passion for it. I'm doing it voluntarily, willfully. Why would I not give it everything? I want to do a good job of it. And then I think actually what benefited me in starting at this point in my life is that I've lived life. I have life experiences to draw from. So even if I don't necessarily relate directly to a character, I can go, well, I know someone that's been through this, or I can relate it to something similar to something I've been through, or just maybe like that character. I'm fortunate. Very many people have said, like you said, it was a trigger to them because of stuff that they might have been through, whether it's alternative lifestyles or just being judged by their family or their the people they grew up with or whatever. I can draw from my experiences, my say trauma, because I've had stuff, and I did my best to bring that to that character. And again, I'm sorry if it was uncomfortable for you, but it is very this high praise is complimentary for you to think that I was at it longer than I had been and that it was realistic. So thank you for that. Yeah,
it was. I felt like I was in the living room with you, and I was.
God.
Anyways, it was scary. But Joe, actually, we're coming down to 1 minute left. So, anything? Any last words? Yeah, I know it's quick, dude. It's quick. 45 minutes is not a lot.
Okay, if you don't mind, like if I can invite myself back, I would love to come and chat again. Okay, so shout out to Brady, Brandon, and Rich. I'm a commercial actor. My representatives, Palmer Pereira, Laura Bowman, and Stuart Robinson at Brady, Brandon, and Rich are amazing. My tags on social media, Twitter and Instagram, are Joe Gamble Actor, Joe Gamble like Las Vegas, Actor, ACTOR. If anybody's listening and want to check out, see what I'm up to, definitely can reach me there.
All right. One thing I want you to say, I didn't see that coming. Can you say that?
I didn't see that coming.
We are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Hit the record button.